What's up, guys? I am JP.
And I'm Ryan. We're ready for you.
Star Wars Acolyte. Final episode.
Final episodes. We have plural to cover here.
3 to be exact. And we had to
Yes.
figure that out before we started because we thought we only had to cover 2. So we are covering episode 6, or 5, 6, 7, or 6, 7, 8.
6, 7, 8.
6, 7,
yeah,
8.
and we've got a lot to cover. So I guess we'll just jump right in.
Well, do we want to jump right in? We hadn't seen each other for a few weeks.
What do you want, a fucking hug? Like
Yes.
what? Jesus Christ! Well, here you go, buddy. I don't want to hurt your back.
We both have our Stormtrooper helmets.
Size doesn't matter.
His is bigger than mine.
I'm overcompensating.
Mine won't actually fit on my head, though. Yeah. So I just got home from tour. That's about it. That's all I've got.
That's all you've got.
That's all I've got. I had to be on the road with James for another 2.5 weeks, and
That's the real reason why he's walking funny, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, I hurt myself not the next to last show, but like the show right before that. And so like the last 2 shows were fucking horrible. Like I couldn't even get my guitar on me. The next to last show, James had to put it on me, and when he did, I was screaming like it. Yeah, it sucked.
I can only imagine. You remember I rolled the Jeep back in January, so I got a little slip disc or some shit going on, and it does not feel pleasant. And especially if I sit for too long and have to, it's like every time I stand up, it's re-stretching it out, and yeah, it's not a fun process. So I wish back pain on no one.
Alrighty, have you got any news?
There's always news. No, life. Life.
We're boring people.
Yeah. I did go see, and we won't talk about it at all, but I did go see Wolverine and Deadpool.
I went and seen Deadpool and Wolverine as well.
Deadpool and Wolverine, or whatever. I like Wolverine better. I guess we'll chat about that later, though. We'll
No, we can. If you want to give a brief, we can.
Okay. For me, I do see a lot of people complaining already, and the complaints were, it's just a movie.
A lot of fan service.
Definitely a lot, but I think it's in a good way.
I think it is.
And for me, like if it all around though, very entertaining movie, start to finish. I thought it was well delivered, well done, and I am biased because since I was a little kid, Wolverine's always been the favorite for me. So I was very happy to see Hugh back in the old school uniform, not the new one. But my big thing for this, and I'll just say it at this, you can tell there's a lot of cameos from the trailers and from what people have already said online. It's a lot of bringing actors and old heroes that were not part of the MCU into the MCU, in my opinion. So I felt that the transitional aspect of this movie, if nothing else, is the best part of it. But it was definitely fun. It was a very fun movie.
For me, I think it's definitely a really, really, really fun movie. Now, I've talked to people that think it's the greatest thing ever, and I just don't think that it's the greatest MCU movie or Marvel movie or even Deadpool movie. But that being said, I'm not hating on it. I think the movie's fantastic. I think the cameos are great. There's some performances that I think could have been different and made the movie a lot better. But overall, I enjoyed it. I will stand by my statement, though, that Furiosa was my favorite summer movie I've seen this year, and to me, it still is over Deadpool.
But there's an excellent scene where they do nothing but reference Furiosa.
They do. They reference and make fun of Furiosa.
But in a good way.
In a good way.
That's the one thing that really stood out. And we'll get back to Star Wars here in a sec, but the thing that really stood out for me in this movie was Ryan Reynolds' amazing and clever way to combat the issues with Disney and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. His little pokes and jabs were priceless.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic.
They're they're, if nothing else, they should be eye openers for Disney, and they should make Disney think twice before they do some of the dumb shit they've been doing. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to make this Marvel episode. I keep talking about it. So
we can keep going, we'll end up giving spoilers away.
Yeah. We'll shut up.
We'll shut up.
Let's get back to Star Wars.
Just go watch it. We'll review it soon.
Maybe we can combo that with one of our upcoming ones I was talking about or something.
That's fair.
Yeah, we could probably combo that out.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to Acolyte. Star Wars is my first love before Marvel, so I'm going to get back to this and enjoy the hell out of this. So, episode 6, it's called Teach Corrupt. We both had to kind of trigger a memory for this one because we both watched 7 and 8 and forgot. The last time we filmed, it was the day of the new one coming out, so we missed episode 6 prior.
Yeah, and then I've left for tour. I've been halfway across the country and back since then, and I forgot and did not even give this episode another thought after I watched it because I thought we already covered it.
Well, so when we watched that night, I think we both felt the same, though. We both felt like episode 6 is, at first glance for me, because I gave it a second watch, very filler. That's it. It felt like it was just straight filler. When I give it a second glance, though, there's a lot of pieces and parts that help tie some of the story together. In this episode, you now have Osha is with Kumir. I'm probably going to butcher that name. I know it's probably not the right way to say it, but
I call him the Stranger.
The Stranger.
The Stranger.
She's with him, and you're seeing kind of a flip, a reversal role happening here. And that flip is that, Osha is leaning more towards the dark side, and May is leaning more towards the light side. I don't think that they're really picking sides per se, but more so picking each other, at least from May's side of things. And so the story, as it kind of unfolds, is interesting because Soul, for whatever reason, one of my big things about this episode and most of the series is that I didn't understand why Soul could not distinguish between the two. There are numerous instances in when that's happening, where it happens, where he just simply can't differentiate who's who without that marking on her head for May.
Yeah.
And to me, that was kind of frustrating until we get into a later explanation.
Yeah, they do explain, and it's not until the following episode.
Right.
So we'll wait.
We'll cover that in episode 7. But some of the things that did come out of this were very interesting. You see the Stranger, so I don't butcher the name. The Stranger is definitely trying to make the dark side appealing to Osha.
While he's naked.
Yeah, we got what did they what was it Ben Swallow or whatever they called Kylo Ren in the movie. We get one of those.
You see the Stranger, or Q like you called him before, at some point, and I know we're jumping ahead in the episode, but just to reference this, they're on a distant planet that's it looks a lot like Act 2, is that the name of the planet from the sequel?
It's something along those lines. Something it looks like that.
The planet that Luke was on. And it is very reminiscent of that island and that planet. And he has Osha on there, and basically he gets naked and jumps in the water. Says, "Look at me."
It's supposed to be a tide pool that has healing properties. But yeah, but this is an interesting moment when he gets in the water. We can talk about this a little bit. This is huge. So when he gets in the water, you see a giant scar up his back that looks very similar to a force whip.
Yeah. And I had actually texted you that night going, did that scar look like a force, like a lightsaber whip had struck him?
Now, I had a few theories as to who was pulling the strings. I think overall my theory was wrong, and it sadly can go in a direction that I was hoping they wouldn't. But I do think that where it's leading with Finestra and the Stranger kind of says a lot to me. But that when you sent me that shot, I was locked. I was like, that's it. It's got to be it.
Yeah.
There's no Jedi master would whip their Padawan.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. One of the things with The Stranger, to me, that is interesting for a Sith figure or a dark side person is his tone, the way he approaches people. Most of you've got, Darth Vader, and you've got the Emperor, and you've got all these people with these, like, I don't know, these villainous, weird voices that are on the dark side. And then you get to this guy, and he's like soft-spoken, handsome, trying to definitely dig in to get Osha to come to his side.
He's the very deceiving devil.
Yeah.
And and I mean,
what do you think?
Yeah.
Like he's got this like sly thing he's trying to do.
Yeah, he's just like the super nice, sweet guy.
He could have done the Joey. He could have been like, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
But as the episode unfolds, we see a lot of little elements of that push. And meanwhile, you're flipping back and forth. There's two other kind of story arcs happening in this episode with, you've got The Stranger and you've got Osha on the planet. You've got Soul with who he thinks is Osha, but it's May on a ship. And also on that ship is Basil, who's doing a little investigative work. And then you've got Venestra and a team of Jedi who are going to
you've left one out. Evil Pip.
Evil Pip?
Yeah, the little robot.
Okay, what about him?
She reformatted him, made him evil.
I forgot. His light turned from blue to red. It did. Oh, that's right. I forgot about the light change. She did reformat him, which is an interesting thing that we'll talk about again later because that comes up later too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm this episode. I recommend anyone who watched it once and thought it was just filler to give it another watch.
Which I did not do.
There's the way that this whole first season pans out leaves so many questions, and I nothing is fulfilled for me, and so I will just say, only reviewing at 6 right now, that I absolutely need a season 2.
Which has not been greenlit.
No, which is absolutely stupid. And it's because of all you fucking idiot fanboys who are overanalyzing and making negatives out of nothing. Just let us get more Star Wars content. It's going to happen, so you may as well just let us pick it. Let's get past it.
I mean, we could have gotten a sequel to Solo and seen Darth Maul.
I think I've told you my hope for this. So Solo, if it were a sequel, it should have been called Maul, a Star Wars story.
Yes.
And then we see Darth Maul doing his whole syndicate, running that whole thing, but spending his extra time, if you will, hunting down Solo, because Solo has what he needs. I think it would have been a great story. I thought it would have been really cool. And I didn't need a Solo 2, but I'll tell you what, Eldritch would definitely, if he comes back in some way, shape, or form, I'm cool with it because I was not opposed to what happened. He's not as tall as Harrison, but he did all right.
He wasn't bad, but you know, I feel like I've read articles that he's just not interested at this point.
I think a lot of people are scared at this point in acting because of how, like, if you get into any major franchise and you do it in a way that reflects negatively in any way, or anyone loses their mind about it and it spreads like wildfire like we're seeing, people don't want to be associated with that. I was shocked Robert Downey just came back. Sorry to go back to Marvel, but that recent news with Doom, it's okay. Because you know what? It's a deception. I'm just going to say this. It's a deception. I think it's a teaser deceptive tactic because Marvel likes to hide their shit. I think that they're going to show us a variant of Doom. And they already announced that Secret Wars is the other movie coming out, which will probably be fought in the void, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot being set up there, but we'll go back. But it's the same thing with those franchises, though. I think people are afraid to go back, and Eldritch should be great.
Yeah.
There was another actor who played Harrison Ford. He played a younger version of Harrison Ford in a time-traveling movie.
I don't remember it in the time-traveling movie, but River Phoenix played him. Young Indiana
that
Jones.
Was good. No, this wasn't that. It was something else. But this actor looks so much like him and does the best Harrison Ford impression. So much so that I was like, when I found out Eldritch was doing it, I messaged him and said, "Hey, I'm really bummed it wasn't you. You should have been it." And he messaged me back and started talking to me. It was really cool. I really wish I remembered his name. But yeah, I hate how the fan base has kind of turned good actors and people away from that. That really frustrates me.
Okay, back to the episode. So we got to. What else actually happened? Because you watched it twice. That's kind of the filler. I mean, to me, that whole episode is. For me, it's still a filler episode, but there's ramifications with the idea that Osha's seeing the dark side for the first time and May seeing the Jedi for the first time, and they're seeing things differently with where they're at.
There's a lot to be said about Osha and May and where they're at, but honestly, to really dive into what was starting in this episode, we've got to talk into 7 and 8. So I will just say this. It is more of a filler episode. I did appreciate going back in and looking at the smaller details and the nuances of it, but I can't talk about those without 7 and 8. So we'll move forward into 7.
Okay, so we're going to wait for our ratings for overall.
What do you... Well, I don't know. We broke it up last time,
We broke it up last time, and we didn't the first time. So now we're just confusing the fans.
Yeah. Let's stay consistent with the last time. I'll give him a rating on this. Sure.
Okay.
For this one, it was filler, and it was not what initial watch. I appreciated it more later, but not what I was hoping for upon an initial watch, and I was kind of really bummed out when the episode was over.
Yeah.
What I got out of it, in retrospect, I feel better about now, but initial watch, I'm going to say 3 nerds.
Wow. You liked that episode a lot more than I did.
I mean, it's not, like I said, the rewatch, it gave me incentive to understand what they were trying to do. Because without 7 and 8, that episode was like, that was garbage.
It was garbage. It was garbage.
But once I got 7 and 8, it mattered.
Yeah, no, it was garbage to me. That I didn't do a second watch through, so maybe I would give it a different rating if I watched it again, and I didn't. However, I watched that episode, and I remember the episode ended. I was just like, that's it? Really? That's fucking it? I was mad.
I was too.
I was fucking mad. And I'm going to give this one a fucking low score.
Like, you're going low.
I'm going low. I'm going to go to a 1.7.
Don't
nerds.
decimal point me, James.
Yes. That just happened.
Fair. Okay. All right. I'm going to stay at the 3 because I should judge it off a first watch only. But if I was doing that, I'd probably have a lower score. But knowing what I know, I'm going to stick to 3 because the episode mattered later on. So yeah. All right. Let's move into 7 now. Now 7 is
all flashback.
It's all flash. It's this. Remember, I said we're gonna get a second flashback with the Jedi's point of view. Now, it's not just the Jedi's point of view, though. It is a point of view I felt more from May. I felt like when we got the first point of view, it was from Mother Anastasia, the witches, and Osha. This one was definitely more. It was all Jedi primarily, and then May's side of it, where May stood, how Mother Coral was. I felt like Mother Coral was kind of manipulating May, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it was interesting to see how that all transpires.
So this episode literally played out exactly like, was it episode 3?
Yeah. For the flash. Yeah. No, so, 4. Was 4. It no 3?
Well, the flashback episode. If you go back to it, it's the flashback. This episode plays out exactly like the previous episode, but it's from the perspective of the Jedi. So you're seeing everything that they're doing. You're seeing why they're at this planet. You're seeing them follow the girls. You're seeing them follow them to the witch's hideout, and then interacting with them, giving them the test, and going through all the motions, and then how all the witches died. Because we didn't see that in the previous flashback. You just see Osha come out, and all the witches are dead. So you see all this from a different perspective, and for me, it makes that episode a little better. It didn't make it as it didn't help that first episode as much as I hoped it did. Because if you remember, I even said I hope we get an episode that really makes me come back to this flashback episode with a whole new perspective and a new appreciation for it. And it does a little bit.
Oh, it does a lot for me.
It does a little bit, but it didn't do it as much as I had hoped.
One of my favorite parts. So, I mentioned this when we talked about the last flashback episode. They show the point of view when Mother Anastasia is in Torben's head, and his eyes go black.
This scene, this is one of this. And there's another part.
There is. I'm going to get to that too. Yeah,
are my favorites, and what you're going into is my favorite thing in this episode.
So the Torben scene. Now I understand why Torben so willingly drank the poison. Because she messed his head up bad. When Mother Anastasia was in his head, she basically pulled on the strings of his anxiety and his want to not be there anymore and to be home on Coruscant. He was feeling homesick because they had been investigating this planet for weeks, and he just didn't want to be there anymore. He felt like it was pointless. And in that moment, I mean, all the way down to her telling him to kneel, he kneels. There's so much going on and so much like chaos within him because of her, and it's just in a thought. And while she's holding conversation with the Jedi, which was even more impressive. So I was like, wow. Like it was serious.
Yeah, no, that whole scene is one of the top notch things in this whole series was that, and
it's what differentiates May and Osha from anyone else.
Yeah,
like that we've seen before, at least.
So yeah, the whole actually entering someone's mind and not just talking to them and being like, "These aren't the droids you're looking for." No, they're actually it's like fucking Charles Xavier in this guy, but in a fucking witchy, morbid way, and it was fucking great. That was one of the coolest things to come out of this whole series.
In that scene, was it in that scene? No, never mind. I'm getting ahead of myself. I won't talk about that. Let's see, Coral and Torben. I have little notes here, sorry. The brain invasion is what I called that, by the way, in the notes. I feel like in that moment, so much happened that instigated the events that unfold and why Soul kind of spirals too. Torben getting that poisoned seed, if you will, when we get, was it episode 8 or was it, am I ahead of myself, when he takes off in the speeder? Because they're at their home base and there's a scene where he takes off in the speeder to go. It's this episode. So there's a moment where Torben is, so basically he sees, because this seed's been planted, he sees a path home sooner by going to get May and Osha, because he recognizes them as a Virgins in the Force. Which when Virgins came into this, goddammit, I was mad. Not gonna lie. I really am tired of this Virgins shit. I get it. I know why it happens. I know the anomaly. I know the lore. I just didn't want that to be the case. Thoughts?
Yeah. I didn't hate it, but it's kind of a cop-out, I guess. It's no different than what Disney's doing with a lot of their series. They're doing the easy thing.
The rinse and repeat.
Yeah, they're doing the easy way out, and so I didn't hate it, but it's just kind of like, it wasn't that I was anything that I was blown away by, with them rehashing this. The one cool thing, which we started to mention, and I'm pretty sure we can mention it now since we're in this episode, was that they figured out that these aren't twins.
Right. Okay. Yes. Well, it doesn't get said until episode 8.
Does it? Because I was thinking,
Soul still starts trying to, and every time he starts talking to May, because he finds out in this episode that it's not Osha, that it's May. Every time he gets to that moment, something happens. He became unconscious the one time, or I forgot what happened to him. But needless to say, yeah, that was interesting. I was finding out they were the same person, but still Virgins in the Force was a little bit of a lift. But to me, they didn't need to put virgins on this. The witches having their own power and having the black eyes and the mind invasions, I thought all that would have been fine without making it of virgins. I don't know where they're going, though, if I'm being honest. So
I think that they're trying to set up something to play out how Plagueis and Sidious created Anakin.
Blah,
Blah, blah. I mean, it's just, that's the only thing that my mind can go to at this point with this is, okay, well, we've created life from the Force, but we've basically copied said life, so my thinking is they're going to start trying to figure out how this happened, and so that they can use it.
They GG'd him. Reference I just made? The city has got me watching the Chucky TV series. I hadn't watched it. And so Glenn and Glenda, they basically used the Gigi doll and split it in two personalities into Glenn and Glenda. So kind of the same thing.
Yep.
No, yeah, this episode takes a lot of different twists and turns from different points of view. You see all the way up to the actual Jedi go, like basically Soul goes back to the base, talks to Indara, who we thought we saw the last of her in the first episode, and she's throughout this whole episode because of the flashback. You really, I'm gonna tell you, I enjoyed the hell out of her character.
You know what they should have did? They should have fucking forgot about her and brought X-23 back.
Jesus Christ. I just had a James moment. That's exactly what just happened. I went, Jesus Christ. I just totally... Anyways. No, for me, Indara mattered so immensely in this episode in different ways. She was the voice of reason.
She was the voice. She actually... I'm giving shit just because I'm not a fan of her. I'm not a big fan of hers.
Well, there's something she did at the end that I'll talk about later, but it...
Yeah, but she is kind of the voice of reason. She does fit into this episode.
She is acting how a Jedi should be acting.
Yeah, she's the only one.
Yes. Whereas Torben's flying off acting like an emotional Anakin. We have to get them so that we can go home. And then you got Soul, who's got Soul is acting essentially like a gray Jedi straight up.
Yeah.
He's got all these emotions. He's not a dark side person. He's got emotions. He thinks he's doing the right thing. Everything Soul is doing in this episode, in this flashback, is to protect the twins because he thinks they're in danger from the Ascension ceremony. And the Ascension ceremony, this is where I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I felt was weird. So when we start finding out that the girls are the twins, but they're not twins. They're the same person. And we find this out. I happen to pay more attention to, in the flashback episode and the episode in 6 before, I happen to pay more attention to the marking on May's head. And, what's his name? Kalnaka's cave drawings and or tree hut drawings. Mm-hmm. It's yin and yang, which is weird having yin and yang in the Star Wars universe to begin with, but it's still balanced in the way that it flows. So that's where I'm kind of left conflicted with where May and Osha are, because I don't feel like they're supposed to be dark and light. I feel like they're supposed to balance each other.
Yeah.
And the more they're separated from each other, the more they spiral, whichever path it is, and that's why they flip now. And
I think that's spot on. That's kind of what I gathered, was if they're apart, they become what they're a part of, whether it be light or dark. But when they're together, they're kind of at peace, and they're complete. It's balanced. I think that is the and I don't want to call them twins now. I mean,
for all intents and purposes, they're still twins. I mean, they're the same person, but that's getting deeply into it.
Yeah. But when they're together, I think it is a balance of. A way of saying it's a balance of the Force. They are perfectly balanced because they are the light and dark.
I forgot what other movie in Star Wars or whatever series in Star Wars used this as well, but everyone lost their mind when the prequels came out and all of a sudden we had the midichlorian counts. So now in the show, when they were testing the girls for their M count.
Yeah.
It's referred to as M count.
Yeah, they didn't say midichlorians.
No,
yeah.
that was interesting too. So, and it's been done on another show, but I forgot what it was. And it's I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
That was weird too. But Torben, when he's acknowledging that, he goes, "This is the highest M count I've ever seen."
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually caught that in another series or episode, but I noticed it in this.
I feel like there was another testing scenario in some other show, and I don't remember what it was, or maybe it was a movie. I don't know, but all I know is I remember hearing M count, and it threw me off the first time I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like they've solidified that because they use it again, and that, I feel like they're changing on purpose.
I guess I just, whatever reason, if it was in something else, I just unconsciously knew what they were talking about and didn't. This is
the first time I caught it.
And this is the first time that I really was like, kind of a head turner with the whole M count. So we get to see the witches die. However, before we get to that,
that's a big thing, though. That's a big part for me.
It is. But we talked about my favorite thing in this episode, which was one of his, which was the mind control thing. My second favorite part of this was you actually get to see Master Kalnakis.
Sorry, I had to look it up. In The Mandalorian, an M count is a reference to the amount of midichlorians in Baby Yoda's blood, it says, but we know.
So it was probably one of the scientists.
It's from that with the cloning process. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So we actually get to see Master Kalnakis. Is that how you say his name?
Kalnaka.
Thank you. Lightsaber fight. So we finally get to see
with black eyes, with the Abeloth eyes.
Yeah, we get to see Wookiee lightsaber.
And you know what's funny is we were very, very distraught that we didn't get the sequence before, and I'm happy that we didn't because this was way cooler.
Yeah,
and it explains Torben's scars because Kalnaka fucks him up.
Mm-hmm. yeah. I mean, he gets mind controlled just like Torben did.
I would have liked to be inside his head.
Yeah,
like I would love to have some kind of a extra or something if they release
I mean, do you think the witch was in there going, "Oh," like?
So when Kalnaka is being controlled, by the way, so this is a whole big thing. I do want to. This is a road to go down for sure. When Mother Anastasia was doing her thing, actually, is that before or after Anastasia? Is Kalnaka after?
I think Kalnaka is after.
Okay, then let's rewind here, because that's a huge part of the story. But the scene where Mother Anastasia dies, that has a lot in it to unpack for me. There's a reference at some point, I forgot who said it too, and I don't know if it was Anastasia or Coral, but it says, "Someday those noble intentions you have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy." It is Anastasia.
Yeah.
And
which we know rings true.
It's foreshadowing to the fullest, for sure. However, I saw so much different angles in this episode of the sequence that happens where Mother Anastasia, I felt like she was just trying to stop them from fighting by turning into her vapor black form, whatever that was. It was almost like she was going out to just stop them. Like so you put your hands between friends.
I felt like she was.
And so that goes to happen, and Soul sees this, and Soul reactively thinks that he's going, because we're talking about the two people that ignite. You've got Torben, who ignites his lightsaber because he feels that Mother Coral is going to attack him, and Mother Coral, in defense, she readies up to fight him, and they're about to go at each other. And all of a sudden, Mother Anastasia turns into this black mist, and it looks like black wings, almost like angel wings, go out towards the two of them, looking like it's going to stop them. Whereas I think Soul thought that the intention was to go after Torben and hurt a Padawan.
Yeah.
So Soul ignites his lightsaber into Mother Anastasia. And in that moment, she looks at him and she says, "I was going to let her go with you. Osha chose you." And I was like, oh shit. Like, to me, like, I don't understand why Soul, as things unfold, why Soul didn't just say, "I did it because I was trying to save Torben. I didn't do it to hurt you." You know, something like that would have gone a long way, I feel.
Yeah, it probably would have. But
now, when that happened, point of view. You've got May, who saw this happen. May, who now knows the truth, and her starting the fire was just her being a child and doing whatever, and now she understands what's transpired with Mother Anastasia. Now, we go into the Wookiee fight.
The Wookiee fight. At this point...
But before we do that, do you want to talk about the Mother Anastasia part? Or... Because I did get really into that, sorry.
No, go ahead. I mean, you didn't say anything that I wasn't already thinking.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I think Saul definitely thought she was going to attack him. And he did it as a defense, but he fucked up. He fucked up.
He's got too many emotions here.
Yeah.
That's where he's not acting. He's acting like a Grey Jedi and not. But he's not a Qui-Gon Jinn Grey Jedi. He is a on the edge of losing his shit Jedi.
He's a lot like Anakin. He's a lot like Clone Wars
Good.
Anakin.
All right. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, he's a lot like young Clone Wars Anakin that can't. The Anakin that slaughtered sand people is how I see Saul in this episode, but not to that extreme.
But no, but your correlation is completely on point, because you think about his interactions with Venestra, you think about his interactions with Indara, and you have people who are talking down to him and telling him what he can and can't do, and he's having emotional outbursts. Mm-hmm. So it's a very Anakin-like character. But it's like an Anakin / Qui-Gon character.
Well, it's like in this episode, the flashback episode, he is Anakin to me. When it jumps back to current timeline, he's Qui-Gon. He is more Qui-Gon than Anakin. It's like he's learned to control himself. But no, that was the one thing that I felt through the whole episode is Saul is Anakin in these flashbacks. He's too unpredictable. He's too impatient. He's too how do you say too much of a free spirit that just doesn't want to be controlled and told what to do, you know.
I feel like he's emotionally vested in the scenario. So what he believes in his heart to be the right way is the path he's going to follow, regardless of what anyone says.
Yeah.
Had he lived a little bit longer, do you think he would have turned to the dark side? Do you think that was capable in him?
Soul?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think by the time you get to current timeline, he's more Qui-Gon. I think he's more Qui-Gon, and I think he's more one with the Force. But I think he's very, I think he still has issues with what he was that he struggles with.
Yeah,
but he's trying. He's moved on, though. I think to a certain degree.
Yeah. Wow, you kind of threw a wrench in my spokes with the whole Anakin comparison. That was good. The next scene is where things get really interesting for me, too.
Which is, this is
what we started to talk about.
This is the Wookiee fight.
Kelnaka.
Master Kelnaka gets mind controlled, and...
But... All right. Mother Anastasia, I don't know her power levels versus the other witches. But Mother Anastasia wrecked Torben by herself.
Oh, yeah.
All the witches were in Kelnaka. That's why the whole brood of them was laying on the ground together, because they were all sitting like black-eyed, chanting, going back and forth, and they were controlling Kelnaka. I don't know if maybe it's because it's a Wookiee. It took more. I don't know what it was, but it was intense.
Yeah. No, it took all of them to do that, and that's why I wish that it showed it to us.
I would love to know they were doing it inside of his head for sure.
Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever get that flashback, even if we get a season 2.
I'm telling you, if they release a season 1 on Blu-ray, they'll extras maybe. Maybe we'll be lucky. I don't know. I'm hoping.
I feel like that's just something they didn't film.
Yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately,
but in this though, you see really cool things happening though in this fighting sequence. Kelnaka is everything you would think he would be as a Jedi Wookiee.
He did everything but rip somebody's arms off.
Yes, and I thought maybe he was gonna.
I actually was waiting. not everybody he was fighting lived later and had their limbs, I would have been like, somebody's going to lose their arm.
Bro, can you imagine if he just looks at someone and raises his hands and does this, and his arms just rip off using the force? How fucking rad! Anyways, sorry, I got
okay.
That was...
I have officially decided this was not the Wookiee fight we were looking for. That is the one that we needed.
Hell yeah, that would have been rad. But anyways, I liked that you had Sol trying to fight Kalnaka defensively. All the Jedis that came to this, by the way, were defensively fighting. No one was trying to attack Kalnaka because they understood what was happening. So Sol was on the defense, and Sol did damn well in this fight. Torben, I got to give props to even.
Yeah, I mean, for a Padawan, he was. He
got wrecked.
He was no X-23.
Jesus Christ.
And I still don't remember her name. She's just always going to be X-23 to me.
Oh, in the show, yeah, fair. Now I don't remember her name.
She was a badass. She was a badass Padawan.
Awesome. Dude, she was another one that, like,
so you think when I'm saying X-23, I'm talking about the actual X-23.
I thought we were bringing back Marvel references.
I'm actually talking about her character from the Acolyte.
No, yeah.
Because she was so fantastic.
There's a specific fight or a moment in the fight between Kalnaka with Torben where Kalnaka has him up against the wall, and I thought he was going to lightsaber him right through the midsection, but instead of that happening, Torben ignites his lightsaber downward to deflect it, and I thought that was so cool. I thought that was a really cool move for a young kid, and did it right. What?
Jaki. Is that how you pronounce it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Jockey or
Jaki.
Something.
I'm gonna call her Jaki. I'm gonna try to remember that, and not call her X-23 for the next, 20 minutes.
He leaves it on the screen to look at.
Yeah, that's why.
So then you have Indara who comes in. Now, this is one of the coolest moments of anything Indara did in the little bit of screen time she had. And she literally disarms Kalnaka, throws him to the ground, and she puts her hand over his head and clears his mind to bring him back. And in turn, all the witches die in one shot.
Yeah.
They just fall over dead. So I'm like, how fucking powerful is Indara, and how come she didn't toss May? Like, there's so many. That's the only thing that's always been inconsistent for me about Jedi video games, Jedi books, Jedi movies, Jedi TV. You have too many inconsistencies within the power of the Force.
Well, you go from one extreme to the other. You got one that can barely force hold a 10-year-old girl to another that can force pull a fucking
Star Destroyer.
Yeah. So I mean,
So I mean, but in this instance, there was Sol and Indara have two badass moments. I'll get to Sol's in episode 8, but Indara doing this was like, I was like, why did they kill her so fast? Like, I wanted more out of her. I wanted to see, because she is that teacher. She is that voice of reason, and she could have been a really, really great lead. And I just, I like Sol too, but Indara, I don't know. I know you had your Carrie-Anne Moss thing, but
yeah, to me, I like Sol and Jaki, and that's it. Those are my favorite characters from the series, and there's no other ones that really stand out to me, other than certain moments here and there. But overall,
I'll tell you what, Indara and these witches, I'm pretty impressed with.
No, yeah, they were much cooler in this episode than what we saw in the first flashback.
So, what else do we got to bring 7 to a close? Sorry, because I was going to say something, but I'm going to wait.
I think that's pretty close to the end.
Well, they went on the ship afterwards.
Yeah.
And on the ship is where they all decide together to cover this up, essentially.
Yeah.
Sol is torn because of what happened. He didn't intend to kill Mother Anastasia, nor did he want the events to unfold the way he did. But because he was so devoted to rescuing Osha, and he told Indara that he saw her, he thought she was meant to be his Padawan. Because of those things, Indara then looks at him and goes, "You're going to tell the High Council what happened here just so she loses you too?" And when she did that, it clicked in Soul's head. He's like, I can't do that to her. And so when Osha starts waking up, he tells her May started the fire, and he holds their story, and all of them hold the story, and they hold this guilt. And this is what unfolds to make Kelnaka go into hiding and isolation, Torben to go into isolation and meditative whatever exile.
Exile.
Meditative exile. And you've got Indara, who kind of, she's living with it, but she's also in the Outer Rim hiding away from Coruscant. So Soul, we see all throughout, but that's kind of where that all wraps. Now, with that said, at the conclusion of episode 7, I'm going to say something that you're probably going to strongly disagree with. Or maybe not, I don't know. I am fully owning and fully admitting that I was wrong about this series. I did enjoy this series thoroughly. It took me getting through episodes 7 and 8 to understand that. I have a lot more questions, but I like what I'm seeing so far. I want more. I hope they greenlight season, another season, and I want to see where it goes. There's more. I need more answers. That said it all. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm minority there.
So, I don't hate this series. We haven't even got to the last episode. We haven't even rated this episode. I don't hate this series. I do agree with Ryan was saying, I want another season. I need another season to have a few more questions answered. More. To decide if I really liked it, if I'm going to like this series or if I'm going to fucking hate it. Because right now, there's a line I'm teetering on between hate and enjoying.
No fucking way.
And because there's things I love about this series, and then there's things that I just fucking do not like about this series.
Let's do ratings before we go.
Okay.
Because episode 8, there's going to be a lot. We still got a lot to go, and we're running short, I'm sure, on time. Because we just talked for, half an hour already on those two.
Probably.
So, all right. So, for me, I'm going to go pretty high on this one because this one starts building and gave me the filler that I needed to feel better about it. I'm going to go 3.7 on this one. 3.7 nerds.
Okay. So, I honestly wished I'd have went back to our previous or wrote down my ratings for the original flashback episode because I don't remember what I rated it. I think I rated it pretty low. With the idea of hoping that it would be rated higher later.
We rated this one really low.
Yeah.
In fact, I called the Ascension Ceremony the Lion King song.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was thinking, that we rated the predecessor to this episode's flashback episode pretty low. This one, do I really enjoy this setup storyline to set all this stuff into motion with what these flashbacks were? No, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not. I just don't think it's great. I don't think it's fantastic storytelling. I think a lot of it's cheap cop-outs, which we already discussed in this
Virgins
episode.
Is the cheap cop-out for me. Other than that, I'm good.
However, this episode, there's a lot of really great stuff in it with the Charles Xavier mind control stuff and Wookiee lightsaber fight. Even though, however, I'm a little let down with that fight now that we've decided that he should have force pulled arms off.
Wookiee force pull.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna rate this one a lot higher because it made the original flashback episode better. So I'm gonna go with 3.2.
Okay. Fair assessment. All right. Are we ready?
Final
episode. Episode 8.
It could be the season finale, or it could be the final episode of Acolyte ever. We do not know yet.
Bro, they're toying with us. There's going to be a season 2. I'm sorry. They won't not have a season 2 for this because of how it closes out, and we won't even talk about that till the very end. But
well, there's a lot of really, really cool things in this episode.
So much to unpack. So this episode is the self-titled series episode. It's called The Acolyte. And I think, if I have to be honest, I think it's because we're seeing OSHA become said Acolyte.
Yes.
So I think that is why this episode is doing that, because it kind of gave us a false allure thinking that May would be it all along, and in reality it became OSHA. In this episode, we start where episode 6 left off, and I don't think we really touched on that, the helmet.
We didn't too much. The isolation. OSHA has the stranger's helmet, which is we find out is a isolation helmet. And
Cortosis helmet, yeah.
As she has it goes, this episode starts with her in the helmet, and you see her fall into her her mind control stuff powers. So yeah, it dives straight in.
She goes right. They go right into her emotional side of things to basically trigger her inner mind, how it's reflecting on her at that moment, and it goes full out. I definitely appreciated that moment, though, because it kind of made us aware of what she's going through and made us understand her character a little bit more. But from there, we go to the other part. We go to the ship, because you've got the interaction with the stranger and OSHA, where he's luring her, and now she's got the Cortosis isolation helmet on. But then you've also got the ship element going on with Soul and May. She does something really cool. Once she gets free of Soul, she goes to the escape ship. And by the way, the droid, what's the droid's name? Pip, that's right. So Pip is the one who, he basically blinks his light blue to match the blue lights on the escape ship to hint to her. And she does what she needs to do. She goes on the escape ship, and Soul's trying to catch her. And as she closes the door, do you catch what she says?
I don't remember right now.
I'll see you in hell, Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
And when she said that, I instantly thought about Han Solo on Hoth and Empire Strikes Back. Then I'll see you in hell. It takes off looking for Luke.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool, and I thought it was cool that she said it to a Jedi. So, I don't know. Go from there. I'll let you talk a little bit here.
So, this episode, essentially, after this setup, you have her escaping on this drop ship, Soul in pursuit.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about something. Go ahead. Soul in pursuit.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the big things of when OSHA taps into her energies, her powers, whatever's happening, Kumir, or Stranger, he tries to intervene because he sees that she's in distress of some sort, and he tries to intervene, and all of a sudden she has pulled him into her world, and his eyes turn black.
Oh yeah,
I was like, oh shit,
yeah,
because he's not a weak dude. So like,
no, that's just showing her witchy powers.
Yeah, but like you have to combine it, like, so she's like super force sensitive combined with that witch power. She's next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was intense. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, just to kind of brush through this episode, give a quick rundown of it. Soul's in pursuit of May, who just took off with the drop ship. You have the Jedi figure it out. Well, actually, they cut the tracker on once they land there, don't they? And so you got the Jedi showing up on the planet. You have OSHA and the Stranger showing up on this planet. Everybody converges onto this planet, which is the planet where the witches were from. We go right back to the scene, to where they grew up at.
Bread Dock, sorry.
To their village, to the lightsaber battles. You have everything unfold, and then basically out. So this is kind of the setup. So there's not a lot of planet jumping. There's not a lot of stuff going back and there's a lot of stuff going back and forth, but you're getting straight to the end in this episode for the most part. But there's a lot that happens.
Oh my God, so much. So let's rewind here. So when Kumir and OSHA are leaving the Jedi Luke Skywalker planet,
they have an onlooker,
and I didn't actually catch this the first time I watched this.
Really?
I did not, because I wasn't. We'll just say evening hobbies, I guess, and I zoned off maybe.
Yeah, I smell those evening hobbies.
Really? Oh, shit. Anyways, so I didn't notice
that
it.
hurts my wife.
And then it went, like, it was all over the internet. And I was like, bullshit, I didn't see that. And so I went back when I watched it, and I made sure it's around the 12-minute mark. And what you see is a creature on that planet, some kind of I'm not going to assume it's Plagueis, but it looked damn spot on with Plagueis.
We're not saying it was Plagueis, but it was Plagueis.
It was Plagueis.
It was Plagueis.
I would have liked to see more of a full character, like so see the bottom part of his jaw, because that's really a defining moment for Plagueis.
To me, it was Plagueis. I saw
agree.
Plagueis.
I gotta agree.
There's no questions.
Which that in itself, if that's where you're going to go with this, and that's what they're taking to build it into their Star Wars, I think that's premature, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm glad that he's there, and if that's what they're going to go for, I'm glad they're going to do that. But to me, I would have waited. I would have done that later.
Well, and as soon as I saw this, and you see Osha and Q, the stranger, then you're seeing Plagueis, and of course my mind's spinning with Sidious at this point. Where's Sidious coming in? That in another season or two, are they going to tie these characters to Sidious in some way? Are we going to see some time jumps to bring Sidious in? And a child Sidious. Well, I'm not talking about an adult Sidious, but is this where this series is going? And so that's where my wheels started turning. I don't know what you were thinking, or
I didn't expect anything with Plagueis in that moment. I honestly didn't. I kind of left that one alone in my head because there's a million possibilities I can wander away with Plagueis. I do know that one, if I'm being honest, I felt it was premature, but that was, if anything, that was one of two huge fan service moments in this episode. I think they did that in hopes of guaranteeing a second season.
Yeah,
because that was the first, a bunch of questions unanswered. It changes the path of everything now. Now I don't see a master and the stranger as the apprentice. Now I know there's a bigger master at play here pulling the strings, and so now I'm like, I've just got a lot of different thoughts going on.
Well, and that's kind of where my mind was is Osha and the stranger not meant to be and never meant to be an apprentice, but they're just dark side users that are a means to the end of Plagueis finding Sidious is kind of where my mind is going with these characters.
My honest thoughts are Plagueis. This is Plagueis' plan. Palpatine just executed it. That's my thoughts. And to me, I feel like, okay, we've got a Virgins in the Force. We've got twins that were created. He's going to digest all of the information he gets to bring his plan to fruition and making Anakin. Yeah. Then that brings up another question. I don't know. Was Anakin born on Tatooine? Or was he?
I never heard anything say that he wasn't.
Because I don't know where he was born. And to me, Brendok, the reason the Jedi were there was because the Virgins in the Force caused all the life all over. Now, you're on a desert planet, Tatooine, so was he born there, or did he get brought there with his mom?
Yeah.
That was a big question that sparked from this.
I don't know if I've ever seen or know. I just always assumed he was born on Tatooine.
Yeah. I did until this came. Like I said, my mind started wandering.
Yeah, I mean, and Anakin even says it. When Padme asked him, he's like all my life. So.
Well, that doesn't mean he wasn't brought there young.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that he wasn't brought there, or she was someplace, and then came there and had him.
Wouldn't it be something if when they bring this whole series full circle, and the very last episode they skip the future, it's Smee giving birth to Anakin on Brendok? Wouldn't that be something? But anyways, I digress. Let's keep moving along here. So we get that moment with Plagueis. Kumir, the stranger, and Osha take off. They leave. They're going to go to Brendok. And Sol and May are also... Sol's chasing her through an asteroid field. And a whole bunch of little fun happens there. This one was...
It's a great action sequence.
It is a great action sequence. And it almost reminded me a little bit of when Obi-Wan's chasing Jango Fett. I didn't get the sound effects. Those sound effects are amazing in that scene. But what really... I was very happy Basil was there. Because this was a moment to me that... had Sol, because there's a moment where Sol's targeting Osha's or May's ship, and I thought he was going to shoot. And if
I think he was going to.
I do too, and I think Basil stopped is the only reason that didn't happen. And if he would have done that, I feel like we would have started seeing a dark side Sol coming, because then he's just killing at that point.
I think he's just reacting. He's seeing what he's perceiving as, a dark user and somebody who has killed Jedi, and he's letting his emotions get to him, and he's being more reactive versus thinking and being patient. I
saw it more from a Sith point of view, where May knows that I killed their mom, and if I kill her, I don't have to face it. So in that moment, I mean, there's both sides of that.
That's fair. I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I don't know. I feel like Sol doesn't care about hiding that anymore. I think he.
But in this episode, when he does admit it and it comes forward, it's still not to the person that matters. It's not to Osha.
It's true.
So
it's fair,
and she catches him.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you're right.
I don't know. Maybe you're right too.
Yeah. I think it could go either way.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. But thank God for Basil, the unsung hero.
Gotta love that little sniffer.
The sniffing Jedi
tracker.
He's just a tracker?
He's just like their tracker.
All right, sniffing tracker hamster. All right, so they're doing the minefield chase, but everything brings them all to Brendok, essentially, including Venestra and the other Jedi and her Padawan Mog or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. So
worst characters ever.
Not only is he, I'm sorry, this is rude, I know, but he's not easy on the eyes by any means, and he's awkward. But then his acting's bad.
And this goes back to what I was saying in the previous episode. We recorded on this series was there's a lot of bad dialogue and there's a lot of bad acting, and this character is more proof of what I was saying in the previous episode, that do better, please, just do better when it comes to this. And this isn't just Disney Star Wars. I don't give a fuck what you people think. George Lucas was horrible with dialogue too. Watch the prequels. He has bad dialogue written in his films.
Bro, just talk about the freaking droids. Oh my God. Those droids having dialogue should have never been a thing. That was the worst. I could have handled Jar Jar over them. They were awful. Anyways, this episode though, I felt like, Mog, he was awful. We could have done without him, honestly, in the episode. The other Jedi almost come across as more red shirts.
Yeah.
And
it's like I don't even know who any of them are.
So Venestra Rowe, who I started off in this whole review series calling Drax, she's another one who, if I'm being honest, the actress portraying her, not anything magical, and I feel like she was given this role because her wife is Leslie Highland, whatever her name is.
I think she's one of the worst characters in the series as well.
Yes, but no, and I'll get to that. All right, so
just because she has a cool story arc doesn't mean that she did a great job.
No. The story arc's gonna get better. I feel if we get more opportunity, but and I do feel like for what her lines were, I do feel like she still portrayed a Jedi like Endara did, where she has the tone, the balance, the logic, the stillness and calmness. I felt like those items were there, but she just like almost played it a little too. I don't know. It seemed faked.
Yeah.
But that also adds into what I'm going to talk about later. So.
Okay, where are we at?
We're just approaching everyone coming together minus the Jedi. So we got, right? We're just about there. So basically we get a scene, right, where Sol essentially had killed previously, 16 years prior, killed Mother Anastasia. By the way, where the fuck is Mother Quarrel? I never saw her dead body, never saw anything with her. What happened to her?
I was thinking that she died.
But they showed all the witches and they showed Mother Anastasia. They never showed her.
I never caught that.
Yeah, that was like there was the scene.
You missed Plagueis, but you caught that.
Second watch, because I watched these when they all came out fresh, and I wanted to like right when they came out, so I wanted to have fresh eyes on it before we did today. So giving it the second watch kind of made me reevaluate a lot. But Mother Quarrel was one of the big question marks I still have because she still was that feistiness. Maybe I missed it. Maybe in that sequence where Mother Anastasia opens up the angel wings, maybe something happened there that I didn't catch. But yeah,
maybe I'm gonna have to go back and reanalyze that. So,
but yeah, so essentially the same spot where Mother Anastasia was killed by Sol. They're standing there, and well, not them yet. It's the stranger and him having their lightsaber battle, essentially.
Yeah, which is a great battle.
Dude, it's so good.
It's fucking good. That's one thing this series has done well.
It excelled very well at it, yeah.
The sequel series did not do this well. This series...
Disagree.
You think the lightsaber battles in the sequel series were great?
I was happy with them, yeah.
Compared to Duel of the Fates?
No.
They were garbage compared to Duel of the Fates.
I mean, comparatively, yeah. You're always going to have better scenes. I mean, that's not... But I'm one of the people who does not have an issue. I have a few issues, I'm not going to lie, with the sequel trilogy. And I'm biased, too, by the way, because I got to watch the movie with the cast. So
I say this, but I still look realistically. I don't... The sequel series is my least favorite of the trilogies. That being said, I still don't hate them. I'm not one of the guys that sit back out here and hate on the series. But I have to be realistic. The lightsaber battles are not that good. There's a couple that are okay.
You're talking about the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, and that's what I'm saying. The lightsaber battles in Acolyte are top tier compared to the sequel series.
But I think that we need to weigh the situations. I think we need to weigh the eras, because you have a peaceful reign without Sith. You have no real wars being fought with the Jedi, minus what they call the space pirates. I told you in the other episode, the Nile.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that was like 50 years before this timeline, if I remember correctly. But these Jedi, I feel like they still have that grace, that elegance in their techniques and their stances. Whereas you get a Kylo Ren who's been trained vaguely by Luke Skywalker, who had to teach himself.
Who had to teach himself, and Luke wasn't a good. The lightsaber fights in the original trilogy were garbage.
They're lunky and they're muscly, so it seems more like, especially with Kylo having the unbalanced crystal, it just seems like everything's a power. Like it's almost like old school knights with the broadswords.
Yeah,
that's like what I got out of those. So like when they're doing those, like I understood why Rey had a slight advantage. Like even though she learned the Force magically out of nowhere, and that part bothered me. That's where I have some of my issues. But she still had an elegance to her flow when she was dueling, because she had that light part of it where she was more fluid, I guess.
Yeah.
So I feel like just because lack of training, not having the same style these guys had, but at the same time, it's also just because fight scenes have gotten better.
Yeah.
So needless to say,
but they also went downhill from the prequel trilogy. Just saying.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong.
Nah, just don't get cocky. They were still good. But, all right. In this lightsaber scene between the stranger and Sol, I saw one of the coolest things possible, in my opinion, and it's Kumir separates his lightsaber hilt so that it's two lightsabers, throws them at Soul. Soul deflects them. They go behind him and they start coming back. And Soul turns his lightsaber off, puts it on his hilt, and just goes, boom, throws Kumir all the way out. Both the lightsabers fly in opposite directions. And I was like, fuck yeah, at that moment. I stood up out of my chair.
So I didn't get a chance to rewatch this one. And so I've got a question in this fight. Did I see this right where they're holding lightsabers together, but Soul's lightsaber's on the opposite side?
Yes, and I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so how? How is this possible? How was he not?
He's holding his wrist while he does that, right?
Okay.
So even though his lightsaber's on the other side, he's still holding the wrist. So what he's doing is he's using his wrist, his lightsaber, and his lightsaber to push towards him.
Okay.
Because it took me a minute to digest that too. Because I was like, how the fuck does that work? I was like, no, what? It was actually kind of strategic, but
and when I watched it, I was on tour and I was on my phone like this. I was watching it on a screen like this.
Yeah, had that been a real lightsaber battle, I'm thinking like if that lightsaber was on the other side and it was mine, like even if I just took the flick of my hand and went, boop,
well, yeah,
there is some flaws in that. Yeah. So I mean,
there were still flaws in it.
They could have Game of Thrones it with Macy Williams when drops the knife down and catches it. And anyways, good scene happening there. When that scene happens and Kumir gets tossed, in comes May. All right, May 1st. Yeah, May comes in first, and they start. I'm having a brain fart with how they interact, how they begin their conversation.
I'm having a brain fart too, but it's basically she's coming at Q.
She basically, what I got out of this scene is she's trying to talk to Soul to get Soul to admit what he did to her mother in front of Osha. Yeah. And Osha's at a distance and basically standing like in a cave to the side. When this happens, when he admits it, thinking that Osha's not nearby, again, my issue with Soul not being able to distinguish who's who, because he's got her in front of him. Why doesn't he feel another Force-sensitive person behind him? But I do feel like there's an element of Soul talking with May or Osha, whoever it is, where his guard is down and he almost has his guilt is in the forefront. It's in the driver's seat. So he's got this. It's like a blind spot or a weakness for him. And when that happens, Osha comes out of nowhere and she's pissed and
she picks up Soul's lightsaber.
Well, she picks it up, but then she's holding it, and I'm not going to talk about that one part yet. It was more the flip to me when he wouldn't stop talking, and she goes, "Stop talking," and all of a sudden he's being choked. And she hasn't even raised her hand yet, and then she raises her hand, and she's doing the Vader form. She has the claw out, and he's like up in the air, choking the whole bit. There's a moment where they glance down at the tip of the lightsaber.
It's broken. It's broken open.
It's broken, but you can see the crystal inside, and the crystal changes color in that moment.
She bleeds it.
She bleaked it. Did you say bleed?
Bleeds
it. A lot of fanboys online had a big problem with this.
I didn't either.
I think because to me, the crystal calls out to the Jedi. It's supposed to be a rite of passage. They find their own crystal. They make their own lightsaber. It's supposed to be a whole thing. So I don't know if a crystal's energy changes to me. Like, I think that works. I think it goes hand in hand with everything.
I mean, I've read in other books that's how they created them. Mm-hmm. They bleed them. And I know the argument is, well, why didn't Anakin's? Well, I know one thing they're saying is, well, Anakin's was still in his saber. It wasn't exposed, like the casing wasn't open. And I know that's one of the things they're saying. Now, I can't remember in the comic form where this was talked about if the kyber crystals were actually out of the sabers when they bled them, or if they were in the sabers. I like to think that maybe they were out of the sabers when they bled them, and that's why hers bled and why Anakin's didn't. So I'm gonna have to go back to those sources and reconvene. But regardless, I'm not upset about it because I got to see a dark user bleed a fucking lightsaber and turn the saber red.
First thing, I think your theory earlier where you made me question everything about the comparison of Anakin and Soul, I think that explains what question you just asked with the saber, with his saber. I think that Anakin was still good, and I think that's why it didn't bleed red. I think we've seen Osha go full fucking dark side.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a going back for her. I think she's now, that's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it bled, if I'm being honest. And the other question I was going to ask, is this the first time on screen we saw amethyst lightsabers? I just thought about that.
We've seen what?
Amethyst lightsabers, the yellow, the glow.
I do believe so. I don't remember any in the prequels.
I don't either. So that's interesting. You know what? The only scene that there could possibly be some other amethyst ones would be the arena where they're with the
on
insects.
Geonosis.
Yes, thank you.
Geonosis.
If with all those Jedi, there's got to be a couple in there.
There might be. There's very possible. There's one purple one in there.
Definitely a purple one. There's definitely purple, motherfucker. Anyways. So Osha's choking him out. Her lightsaber now is bled and turned red. I don't think she ignites that with Soul at all, does she? It's afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's afterwards.
It's afterwards because she kills Soul by choking him out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where you see the stranger looks over and he's just like almost, he's not smiling, but you feel like he is inside because he's just done what she has just done what he had always asked of May and killed a Jedi without a weapon.
Yeah.
And he's like, in his mind, he's like, all right, we're good. And so the lightsaber being ignited afterwards, though, when you see the full crossover, it's almost like the remnants of blue that were left are dissipating and it turns red.
Yeah.
That was, I thought it was powerful imagery, if I'm being honest. I was good with it.
Yeah, no, that whole scene was the best thing in this entire series, I felt. For me. From a dark side.
It's up there for sure.
From a dark side Jedi, kind of thing without the witchy stuff. Now, the witchy stuff was really cool in the last episode, but seeing that lightsaber bleed and then seeing the transition as she ignited it, see her just take full-on dark side powers, it was just all top tier.
Now, you've got, before the Jedi arrive on the planet, May and Osha are together, and they want to leave together. They've left. And they go to their weeping yellow tree that they would hang out under as kids.
Before they get there, though, May shows Osha how she escaped. They climb down where she fell.
Yeah.
And the question was, well, how did she live if Soul saved Osha and May fell down that pit? How did she live? Well, it shows they climbed down and there's like an exhaust port. Just like
what
Luke got sucked into.
After one of the worst moments in Star Wars history.
And
no, that's impossible! All the shit we all gave Anakin and Hayden Christensen, and no one called out Mark Hamill and Luke in that moment. Sorry.
I mean,
it was all whiny.
We're more forgiving on that original trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's fact. I don't care what fanboy out there hates that statement. That is fact. We're more forgiving on the original trilogy.
Based on when it was made and what they had to work with, yes. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so, but where did they just escaped out of that
escaped,
port.
And I just
that's
wanted
important.
to mention. Yeah, because I mean, that was a question. Well, how did she live? So it actually shows you.
Yeah, and as I thought someone more Sithly would have pulled her forward from that, but who knows? But anyways, they go to the tree, and when they're at the tree, all of a sudden, Kumir presents himself again, and he says, "If I can find you this easily, so can the Jedi." And they start talking about a plan. Well, the only plan that, because May wants to go with the Jedi and turn herself in. Osha wants to go with Kumir and
Learn the ways of.
Yeah. And so May, essentially they agree to wipe May's memory. And they're doing their whole "we are one, we are two" spiel, and as they're saying it, he starts wiping her mind. By the way, an incredibly insane force technique that in the books you don't see too much of that either. So I was impressed that was happening, but successfully does it. She forgets completely about her sister. She's trailing off at the end of it and just kind of staring there. They leave, they exit, and May is sitting there, and the Jedi arrive, and they find her, and they're like, they say, "Put your weapons down," this and that, and she's like, "What did I do?" She has no memory of anything, essentially since she was 8.
Since she was a kid.
Yeah, since the fire.
It went back all the way to the fire.
So they end up going to Coruscant, and this is where things get really interesting for me. So if you remember in the first episode, I pointed out that it was very not Jedi-like for Venestra to want to frame Osha, whether she did it or not, by telling Sol, can I count on you? Do I have your voice in this? Because we have to have somebody accountable for killing a Jedi.
Yeah.
Which is that's not how Jedi should be ever. So I was already kind of put on the fence with that one. But would they bring May into Venestra's quarters? That's what really set off some major.
Yeah, there's a lot of red. She's not a good person. I don't care.
Dude, do you see her chair? Her chair is literally the Emperor's throne.
Is it?
It looks just like the Emperor's throne. The shape of it, the colors of the chairs are even red and black.
I don't think I even noticed that, but I was so messed up by the idea that she's literally blaming Sol.
So yeah,
for everything.
And so there's a moment when she finds Sol's body on the planet where she leans down and says something in his ear, but we don't hear that at that moment. And so she essentially, they show a flashback to what she says in his ear, and she goes, "I'm sorry." And it's essentially because she knows she's going to throw him under the bus and blame him for everything. She goes as far as to say he's a rogue Jedi, and it was all coordinated through him. All 4 of these Jedi held this in secret for 16 years. They had acted wrongly and done this horrible thing, and throughout all that too, she interrogates May while they're in that room with all the Empire symbols and symbology. She interrogates her to see what she knows and keeps pushing and finds out there's really nothing there, so she feels like she's won. And she has like this almost glimmer in her eyes, almost like she's happy about the path.
Yeah.
And then you go to the council where she's telling them all about that.
And they literally cover up. You wanted to know why they didn't acknowledge the Sith in this time period. Well, that was why.
Yeah.
They did clear that answer up. So it was all blamed on Sol.
So now we've got a potentially Plagueis character.
Plagueis.
Venestra, Kumir, and Osha all acting in Sith-like standards. And there's clearly some kind of a government type front, if you will. Venestra's not acting like a Jedi whatsoever. I don't know if her intentions are good or not. I don't think they are. But I wanted to get your 2 cents on what happens next as they close out the episode.
Well,
this is all you were hoping for.
The one thing that I asked for since the very first episode was, where the fuck is Yoda? Well, he's been sitting in a fucking room this whole time. They walk in, they open a door, and you get a shot.
Wait a minute, you're mad about it?
I'm mad about it.
Why?
I mean, you didn't even get to hear him speak.
I don't need to.
I wanted to.
I needed the big guns just to be brought in. So that to me, that fan service right there, yeah, Yoda and Plagueis now.
No, it's great. It's great that
we need another season.
It's great that they cameoed him. I'm still upset. I wish we had got some dialogue. I just wish we got some dialogue of some sort. But it's really going to suck if you cameo Plagueis, you cameo Yoda in a series that takes place 100 years before the prequels, and then if we don't get a sequel season, a second season of this, then those cameos are going to be for fucking nothing. and that is really going to make me hate this series.
At this juncture, I love the series. And I'm geeked for a second season. But to your point, if that second season doesn't pan out and we don't see these things fall in line, have more dialogue with Yoda, have these things all come to fruition the right way, then
you're going to feel how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You're going to be mad.
But so far, I went from loving the series in the beginning, not in a huge way by any means, but I was okay for episodes 1 and 2, to hating it in episode 3 and saying Leslie Hyland's killing everything, to okay, I'm back in 4, and then 5 and 6 5 was pretty fucking amazing.
5 was amazing.
Yeah, that was probably
X-23.
Jackie's fight scene was epic for sure. The whole episode, start to finish, was great. And then 6 was kind of meh. Again, 7, I know you weren't a fan of Flashback, but I felt like it made everything round out and brought a lot more to the table. But this episode took it to a new level for me.
This one was a solid episode. It's, to me, I don't know. It's definitely up there with episode 5.
For sure.
Because episode 5, to me, was the best episode. I can't remember what I rated. I'm pretty sure I rated that in the 4s.
Would you say episode 5 was a real neck breaker? Sorry, had to.
Yeah, so this has been an up and down series for sure, and
I have to say,
I'm still undecided, really, overall, and I feel like I've got to have that second season.
Leslie Hyland, she said in the beginning that, she hadn't seen the Star Wars shows before. She didn't want to. She wanted to come with fresh eyes or whatever. Then she was like, it's a female fronted scenario. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. She basically did anything she could to piss off everyone. But I think she misdirected us intentionally. And I do feel like she has a damn good clue of what's going on now that I've seen the whole season. But again, it's going to depend where she takes it.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, though, I think her misdirection worked in her favor here. I'm
not sure if it worked in her favor. I think
I do. For me, because it brought me back.
I don't think some of the misdirection with her, some of the stuff that she had been saying publicly, I don't think it helped fans overall, because I think a lot of fans didn't watch this, and a lot of fans gave up on it because she was irritating them, if you want me to be honest.
I mean, there's some things that were definitely a little over the top in her interviews, and not being watched by the PR people. Yeah. But I don't know. I paid attention to a lot of the online shit. I paid attention to the interviews, and I felt like she wanted to kind of weed out some people, and she succeeded. But I hope people go back and give it a watch again to see what she did, because honestly, it ebbed and flowed the whole series, and I didn't know what to think of it at points. I almost gave up. So
yeah, there was a few times that I almost wanted to call Ryan and be like, do we really want to finish this series?
How fucked up would it be if we did an episode of just saying we stopped watching it because it's that bad? No.
There was a moment where I contemplated actually asking him if we wanted to go on and do an episode like, guys, we just give up. But we didn't.
The only actor that really pissed me off in the interviews, because I can get past Leslie's shit because she put out a decent product, but fucking Yord, that actor,
he was so bad in the series too.
He was bad in the series. He annoyed the hell out of me. And then not only that, but like in his actual real life interview, he proceeded to say Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star not once but twice, to the point where Daphne looked at him and goes, "Shut up while you're ahead. Shut up while you're ahead." And I was just like, how bad is that to be if your co-star is saying shut up? Like, oh. Yeah. Anyways, let's go to ratings.
So
let's do one for episode 8 and then the series as a whole.
Okay.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right.
So, final episode. It was a solid episode. It tied up a lot of loose ends, but left us with more questions. I'm going to rate this one pretty high. I think I'm going to go with a solid 4.1.
Okay.
I think a 4.1 is fair for this episode. However, overall for the series, I am going to knock it down.
Fair.
I mean, outside of episode 5 and episode 8, those were the only great episodes. 7 got close, only because of witch powers and Wookiee fight. The rest of this, there was so much filler bullshit that just did not need to be there. I am overall going to probably land I think I'm going to land at a 3.
Okay.
I am really may regret saying 3. I feel like I might need to go a little lower, but
No.
I think 3 sits in that 65-70 percentile range, and that's kind of where I think this is definitely a D. It's a solid D. It's not a A. It's in that 65-70 percentile range. So I think a 3 is
all right.
A 3 nerds is where I'm going to land overall.
Overall, 3 nerds. All right. So for me, I'll do the episode first. Mine was a little bit higher than yours, but not far from yours. The final episode, I went 4.4 nerds. It had all the bells and whistles, brought a lot of the stuff full circle, left a lot of questions unanswered that I need more material for, which is going to keep me strung along, if you will. So 4.4 works for that. The series as a whole, I'm lucky that I've done my rewatch and I've thought through some of this. So to me, I've got numerous different variations of both Grey Jedi and Sith, and that for me is huge. So the different forms of Sith, including the and Jedi and Grey, but the witches were way better than I thought they were going to be, especially how they use their powers. And then you got the Abeloth eyes, which I'm still waiting for that to tie in somehow. I'd love for Abeloth to be somehow some kind of a precursor or beginning of that witch tribe. But I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of great things to come away from this from. And I did like how it ramped up and it got better from 5 through 8. 1, 2, meh. 3, ugh. And then we went 5 to 8 real fast, and 8 left me happy. As a whole, I'll probably do 3.7 nerds as a whole.
But you definitely liked this series a lot more than I did.
Fair, yeah. But I'm also one of the people that, like, I tell the people this often. You know, everyone can whine and cry about the things we like and dislike. We all have opinions. We all get to share them. However, when it comes to the writing process and the story and the way that Disney chooses to put it out, we're just a backseat driver. So I'm one of those backseat drivers who I'm good with being along for the ride. I'm happy with getting more content.
I am too, and I'm. You don't hear me bitch a lot about Star Wars.
Lies.
I don't.
No, you don't.
I'm here for the content as well, and I want more. I want another season of Acolyte, and I know there's a lot of people out there that don't feel that way. I'm interested in seeing where this story can go. Because I want more Star Wars content. I love everything Star Wars, and so I'm here for it.
You know what I'm not excited about a season 2 of? Andor. Because guess what? He dies. End of story.
We know how it ends.
No, I'm excited for Andor season 2 because I really did enjoy the first one. I just hope it's 6 to 8 episodes, not 12.
Yeah, I hope it's shorter, and I hope I hope they give us 6 episodes, and I hope all 6 episodes were as good as the final episode of the 12 episodes in the first season.
The final or the prison story story arc, because I did like the prison story arc a lot too.
It was cool.
Yeah. All right.
So,
cool.
Next week, what are we doing?
He had to bring it out.
I had to bring my voodoo Chucky doll. Next week, we are doing Bride of Chucky.
It's a good one. It's definitely a good one. I'm going to tell y'all, I'm not super Chucky guy, and I definitely hadn't seen Chucky movies since the first couple came out. And this fucker got me back into them. And like I said, I'm enjoying the series now too. So tune in. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and we recorded this one before I left for tour, so this one's already up. You can save it. You can save the link on YouTube. So for the premiere, it's already up. So yeah, it'll be next Thursday, and we'll hope to see you then.
3cinenerds@gmail.com is the email. We definitely looking for suggestions and commentary. Please tell us, send us anything you got. We'd love to hear it. We've had a few suggestions that we're trying to get to. However, we already had a lot of this year planned out, so just be patient. It'll happen at some point. But very, very cool of you guys. If you guys check out our link tree on the Facebook page, the link tree has links to every form of your podcast listening pleasure. So check that out. And other than that, we've got a little merch link on there too, so you can check that out and help support it a little bit. Speaking of support, hey JP.
Hey, if you'd like to leave us a review, please do so.
And wait, what else is it? Like, follow, share.
Like, follow, share. Write, review, repeat.
Yes.
Get that? Thanks, guys.
Cheers.